passed the first time, it passed on time, it's done.
In this special project Retro Recipe, let's explore some ways to realistically get away from using a smartphone and all the distractions that come with it by reverting to a basic retro dumb phone, as they are called, or even a flip phone. But at the same time, as a side mission, see if we can do it while retaining access to Apple iMessage, for those of us who need that as well. Welcome to this very mobile episode of Retro Recipes.
Retro Recipes, a pixelated flight into the nostalgic world of a man whose tech no longer exists. Parafractic, a grown-up young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of innocent childhood nostalgia. The curious, the powerless, in a world of distracting peripherals that operate above old-school law.
Hello, Chip Dippers. You'll have to excuse the windswept look as I walk puppy-fractic along the hill here. You just saw the cell phone tower behind me, because the point of this video is all about cell phones. And for a few months with baby fractic on the way, I've just been keenly aware of wanting to get back to what matters most in life, and to never let the phone get in the way of that. And to do that, it became clear to me that I had to get rid of one of the biggest distractions in my life, my cell phone. Especially while we're out and about, imagine having lunch and a Slack notification comes in and I rush to attend to it and I miss a beautiful moment, and all baby fractic sees is me staring at my phone. I just never want to become that person. But you may have completely different reasons for wanting to get rid of all those distractions in your life. But I think it's fair to say lots of us are addicted to our smartphones. So we're going to try and fix that right now. Now, to start with, when I started researching it, I was bowled over by the amount of people following this movement. There are huge communities known as digital detox or digital minimalism, dozens of articles about Gen Zers going back to flip phones, which is actually what appeals to me the most. I mean, not only do they just want to look insanely cool, go for Perry. Oh, wrong number? Oh, okay. It is cool and fun to have a flip phone. Come on. I'll get you! And she was never seen again. Come on, I'll get you! Bless her. You see, this is the kind of stuff I want to be doing, not attending to notifications. I never want to become like this. Or have baby fractic when she grows up be like this kid. Now, trust me, I completely get the appeal of handing your kid an iPhone or an iPad and letting them play some games just so you have some time on your own. But when I think about it, as a kid, I didn't need that. I was perfectly happy with all the toys I had and watching kids' cartoons on TV. Even my Fisher-Price garage that I loved when I was 19. Oh wait, no, I had an Amiga then. But either way, you get my point. And the solution to it all lies in what I already do for a living: retro technology. See, I think we peaked and got things just right just before the first iPhone came out, sorry Steve. But after that, I think we started to go down the wrong path. But as I said in my Back to the 80s video, where I recreated my bedroom childhood setups while walking puppy fractic using a Walkman, there's nothing stopping us going back to the 80s. The technology still exists. The phones are still out there on eBay, and cell towers like this, they're still going to be transmitting 2G signals, at least in the USA, until April of 2024. And in the UK, they'll still be transmitting 3G until 2033. So we've still got a bit of time to have fun with that retro tech. Now, I'm actually a little further along on this project. In fact, I've almost reached the end of it, and I wanted to find the perfect solution before I actually made the video and shared it with you. Now, I'm going to take you along the journey because some of the options that I didn't choose might actually be perfect for you. What are you doing? What are you doing? So in true baby fractic style, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I fell in love. Ow! Stop biting me. Come on, heel. No biting. Once upon a time, I fell in love with this. This is the LG Wine Smart 2. It was released around 2015 and runs Android, I think version 5, and it's just gorgeous, isn't it? And that's a modern flip phone. I mean, okay, it's 8 years old, but 2015 feels like yesterday. So it could solve all my problems, but I want to keep using Apple iMessage. I switched from Android to Apple a few years ago, and I just love the way the ecosystem works together, especially with my Mac that I use for editing and all of that. But I have therefore developed a big list of iMessage contacts. So how do we get iMessage working on a 2015 Android? Well, as you may know, there are several services now, or apps for Android, that will let you use iMessage. Most of them use a server which is running on your own home computer, your own Mac, and that acts as an iMessage server and relays messages from the Mac desktop to your Android phone. So the hair-raising situation I'm faced with, quite literally, is trying to employ someone to reverse engineer iMessage, which is the smallest and the most open source of the apps, to work on Android version 5 so I can install it on the LG Wine Smart 2. Yeah, well, easier said than done. I spent 3 months on that project, and although we did get fairly far and I was able to actually install it on the phone, I couldn't get as far as even opening the message list. It just kept crashing. And after $300 and the guy really seeming like he'd reached his limits, I think we had to admit defeat. There were just too many parts of the program to translate to the newer SDK that more recent Android versions use and that iMessage uses. So sadly, I had to give up on that lovely, gorgeous phone. So the point is, we need something that runs a later version of Android that we can install iMessage or Blue Bubbles on. And then that led me to discover these. These are the Samsung Folder 2, Samsung Galaxy Folder 2. They're not to be confused with the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Confusing, I know, thanks Samsung. But they are gorgeous. They are from Korea. And look at this, I've been able to install iMessage on this one. That is what I've wanted for weeks. Great, right? Problem solved. I can have iMessage and a flip phone and it still works. Well, no, it doesn't work. Why? Because it supports Korean bands. And I should have researched this more in depth before I started this mission, but none of those bands cross over to the USA bands. So whether it's AT&T or T-Mobile, you're just not going to be able to run this on a US network. It's all the fault of that cell tower, but I won't be defeated because then I found this. This is the dual SIM version of the same phone. It's got a slightly different design, still beautiful as you can see. But this one supports band 5 as well, which is one of the bands that AT&T support here in the UK. Well, you guessed it, it doesn't work. Why? Well, it turns out that you need several bands on your phone to be supported. Generally, when you get high-speed data, it's actually combining different bands. It's using maybe 2 or 3 bands at once, and that determines how fast your data goes, as I understand it. Trouble is, although it does support band 5, my local tower does not. So therefore, I can't even get a signal here at all, at home. Apparently, if you can find a phone that works on band 12, that's a good solid one that most towers will transmit on. So now with 3 phones in, I've had to trash them all. I put them on eBay. The other problem with this phone is AT&T actually blocks it. You see, I went to the AT&T store for another hair-raising experience, and I kid you not, when I got to the store, the service representative told me to call customer service while he sat there. And over an hour later on the phone, I still hadn't had this resolved. What were they trying to do? Something technical? Something really tricky with my flip phone? No, they were just trying to add a new number to my account. Also, there was a rather questionable movie playing on the TV in the AT&T store.
Alright, so this is the receipt that I sent.
It's not distracting at all. Yeah, that's a bit weird. But then I found this. There is actually a USA flip phone that runs Android 12, the Cat S22, which means everything should work perfectly. I ordered it and I unboxed it. It's hideous. It's ugly. It's designed for builders. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, it's a builder's phone.
I just can't live with my phone that I use all the time being designed for Bob the Builder. It just doesn't work for me. And I'm sorry, Verizon, I just can't buy a phone that's called Durex. So me and Puppyfractic had to admit defeat, right? Well, there was the other option. I made a special video about this recently using something called the Brick. Now, this is a very special device that you tap your iPhone on and lets you disable all the apps that cause you distractions. So the idea is when you're leaving the house for a walk or going to lunch with the family, you tap your iPhone on the Brick, which is magnetically attached to the fridge. It disables all those apps and you can't reactivate them till you get back home because the key to unlock the phone is literally on the fridge. Now you can get emergency unlocks and stuff, but there's a financial deterrent, or they only give you 5 till you have to uninstall the app, stuff like that. It genuinely works. I've been using it when out and about, and I've been bricking the phone every time I leave. And it has actually reinvigorated a bit of my love for the iPhone. Come on. I don't think it's the ultimate solution though, but in using that, I have had some fun with the iPhone. I set up this retro widget to give me a Nokia little home screen widget there, which is active. It shows me the real battery, the real reception, the real cell tower that I'm connected to. And then this is called Blank Spaces. It's just a minimalist launcher. And at my request, he very kindly added a Nokia font to match the retro widget up the top there. So this is actually quite a nice little setup. I've even found these cases which let the iPhone look like an old Nokia. It even slides down to expose the camera. She crazy. Come on, this way. But I really miss the look of those old phones from the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, look at these. And this was known as the Haganuk Global Handy and other brands, but it was the first so-called low radiation phone. And they specifically worked on reducing the SAR rating, which is the amount of heat that it generates in your brain, which all manufacturers have to comply with. And as you may have seen, France just threatened to ban the iPhone 12 because it exceeds their own SAR ratings. And relatively recently, the IARC actually said that cell phones may be a possible carcinogen, but it is either way another reason just to be careful and try and reduce cell phone usage overall. I was even a small part of that industry back in the day. I co-invented and patented and we manufactured these products. I was the ideas guy. I came up with the ideas, and my co-director did all the manufacturing and the CAD design stuff and factory stuff. Let me know if actually maybe you bought one back in the day. There's the wind-up cable tidy for those hands-free cables, which fell out of fashion after Bluetooth became a thing. It was very popular and in all the shops in the UK for a little time. Don't get wound up, get a wind-up. And then there was the snakebite joystick for beating Snake on the Nokia phone. Again, a fun little idea. Here's something to help you with your fun little ideas.
I am Ladyfractic from Getting Project. This is my friend Bonnie, and we like to tell about you PCB way. Or you could give PCBs for $5. How do you, Perifractic? Bonnie!
So how can I use an old phone but still have access to iMessage and other crucial apps, for example, the Tesla app? I also quite like having the Patreon app on my phone because I like to post regular updates to Patreons and maybe make little videos when I'm out and about. And I don't consider that work, I consider that fun. So it's not something I need to get rid of. Well, then I remembered this, the Motorola Razr 5G from 2020. Let me show you how I've set it up. I'm really proud of this. Got a nice little transparent case on it to protect it. You can't even, actually wasn't sure that was on there. But let me show you something magical. Ready for this? Oh yeah. Look at this. Now, you've probably seen the Retro Razr mode or retro mode, but that's not what this is. Let me give you a guided tour, explain what's going on here. This is a wallpaper. Everything you can see except those 4 icons is screenshot from the Retro Razr mode. And I used Photoshop's new generative AI fill to remove the original icons from that and create a blank wallpaper. So if I want to make a call, logically, I might try dialing a number or press call. So now we're in the calling screen. These are the calling icons, and I can navigate through all of these. So I can press right for settings, back, press up for phone book, left for tones, and down for Bluetooth settings. Messaging, that's going to load the default messages app, not iMessage, but Google Messages, because that little button is hard-coded. But don't worry, I'll show you how to get to iMessage using that button in a second. And recent calls. But what if you want to make a call? Well, just dial the number like you normally would. So here's what I did. This here is actually Nova Launcher. You can see there. Here's Nova Launcher settings. I made this the wallpaper, and then I just moved icons up to there and chose a nice kind of retro pixelated icon pack. And I actually have a transparent widget covering them. I want it to work like retro mode where I have to press the cursors. So again, I have invisible icons over these that mirror these. So if I want calendar, I press up. If I want camera, I press right. Hello. And that's how that works. I could present the whole episode here. But now, because I have configuration over this, invisible icon here. So if I want messaging, now it takes me straight to the Apple messages provided by iMessage. And you can see I've been testing it here, and it all works beautifully. And I've also placed a transparent widget over the numbers here, which is how I was able to enter retro mode by tapping a digit on the keypad. Hello. Oh, hello, sweetheart. How are you?
1 second later.
How dare you talk to me like, no, I've had enough. Don't call back this time, okay? No, I'm going. Goodbye. Bloody 9-bit guy. Just kidding, it was Ladyfractic. And I've intentionally made these just the stock kind of apps that you might get. And if I press hang up again, it rotates to the next page. Now all that's doing is sliding home pages across, but I've chosen in Nova not to move the wallpaper with it. So it is really possible to make a very convincing modern retro phone here. I will just say this isn't a review, but I have been disappointed by the quality of the camera. Like I tried a zoom shot and you can see it's pretty kind of grainy. It also has AI. It's made one of Junifractic's eyes blurred and the other sharp. For what launched at $1,400, I picked it up for $350 refurbished, which isn't bad, but it does satisfy every other need. If I'm going to keep a smartphone, especially one that costs $1,400, it needs to be at least as good as my iPhone that it's replacing. Also, the sound quality is terrible. And I'm really disappointed in Motorola because they had the opportunity to relaunch the Razr here and make it like those beautiful old Razrs. And the new Razr that does have a better camera, although still not great if you read the reviews. Well, that one, they've ditched the Razr design. They made it look like a Galaxy Flip. So that one goes in the bin as well. Put it on Facebook Marketplace. But I kept thinking of those old phone designs. You know, I was really on a mission now. So how could we go back in time, still using that cell tower, with a retro phone, but keep iMessage? So then I thought, well, actually I didn't think, an email came in from Beeper. Remember Beeper? I mentioned it earlier. It's an iMessage client that doesn't need to use your Mac as a server. It runs completely off of their servers. It's all encrypted and everything. But what I did think, I thought, was, what if I could set up a gateway using the Beeper API to email? See, a lot of those old phones, they have email functions built in. And if I could make it so that messages come from Beeper to email with the sender's phone number somehow either stored in the email address, like using the Gmail Plus system where you can add any suffix to the email address. And when I click reply, it automatically goes back to that same email alias account. And then Beeper reroutes it back through iMessage to that person. It sounds complex, but it would actually pop up on the phone, just like iMessage does, as a little notification. You've got a new message. Open the email, read it, reply, send, done. Now for this, again, I employed an Upwork coder, someone different. This time, someone who said they were an expert in APIs and an expert in SMS and email gateways. Like imagine going to lunch with the wife and baby and popping that down on the table. It's just, I don't know why that just fills me with joy. I love that stub antenna. Just everything about it's perfect. It just feels like retro heaven, but as always, there's a problem. What's the problem, Daddy? Well, Puppyfractic, GPRS doesn't work anymore. I've been through several communities asking for support, and various people have said, well, one person had it working up until March through Microsoft Outlook, which uses a special protocol, but then Microsoft deprecated that protocol, and that was apparently the last time you were able to use email via GPRS. Bugger. So then I thought, if not an old Ericsson or Nokia, what about a new one? You see, Puppyfractic, Nokia came out with all these brand new phones, and they're still coming out with them. There was a new version of the 3310, that classic phone from the 90s/2000s. Could it support email? And they also make a brand new phone. I love the fact that it's Nokia as well, although it technically isn't the same company and was bought out, etc. But there's just something about having that brand, especially as I had meetings with Nokia back in the day for my accessories and all that stuff. So here it is. This is going to be the phone to save me from all the distractions whilst allowing me to keep using iMessage. It's full of notifications and pop-ups, annoying ones like a little fly buzzing around you like that one just was. And seriously, it's just like that. Buzz off, fly. Why do they think we're using a dumb phone if we want to get all the smartphone style notifications? What is the point? It's ridiculous. Pop up, pop up, pop. Guys, nobody gets it. Now, to be fair, I am taking this to an extreme, and that Nokia might just be fine for you. You might think, you'll get rid of all the notifications, update everything. But if you're like me and you're still searching absolute perfection, the sanctuary of dumb phone heaven, well, I think I've got another idea. It's this. You saw it earlier. It's called the Schok Classic Flip. It came out a couple of years ago, but if I open it up here, it is a really nice flip phone. It even has removable covers, like the old Nokias used to have. And yes, if you get angry with someone, you just slam the phone down on them. Ow, my finger. But this thing runs a modern version of Android, and through a very simple little trick, putting an SD card in with some APK Android installer files on there that you've already downloaded, you can run those from the file manager that's built into the phone and install any Android app, which means I can have Tesla and Patreon and iMessage using Beeper or iMessage on this. Now, it's probably important to mention it's not touchscreen, so you do have to use the cursors. But I really like the way this works. Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to go into settings, I press right. And instead of having to reach up and, let go and reach up and tap something, you just click the corresponding number. So if I want Bluetooth, I hit 4, boom, I'm in Bluetooth. And it also has these 3 hotkeys, so contact, message, and menu. And if I hit menu, you'll see the context changes. Or for example, if I'm in File Manager and I'm looking at those APKs, I could, for example, hit Options. One would copy that file. I could then switch to the phone instead of the SD card. And I could go Options and Paste to paste the file in there. It is really actually intuitive, and I'm not being funny when I say I genuinely prefer it to the touchscreen experience. I think it's part of my old school love, and just the fact that everything's right there and you know exactly what you see is what you get. The other reason I love it is the T9 implementation. Look how easy this is. Look how easy this is. Exclamation point? Sure, you just hit 1 and then you get all your punctuation there. And even if you want special characters, you just hit hash and there you go. Or if you're American, pound. So yeah, a really nice phone. There are some reports online of people having problems with this. I did buy one that went faulty after about 24 hours. But this one I've had going for a couple of weeks now, and it just works. I love it. And here is iMessage itself with all my Apple text messages from Apple iMessage in there. It even supports SMS forwarding. So there, for example, are some of my Pizza Hut orders. Yeah, I never really grew up, did I? If you decide to get one, just make sure you get the Schok Classic Flip, not the Schok Flip. And beware, a lot of retailers are also confused about the difference between the two, but here's a little illustration that might help you. I found Best Buy in the USA to be a reliable retailer of the Schok Classic.
Sorry, I just like doing it.
And I don't even need the Tesla app anymore, because Cnick sent me this. See, it even has the KITTesla logo on there. It is a key for the Tesla. You just tap this against the door and it unlocks the car and lets you go for a drive. Beautiful. So I love the fact that I'm diverging all the things that we wanted, you know, the unism of the camera on the phone, the key on the phone, all those things. I'm now dissecting, and I think you should be too. Going back to basics and just look around and just see this beautiful world that we live in. I think we forget sometimes what's important. So for me, the Schok Classic is going to be my daily driver when I go out and about. I'm going to be wearing my key ring, literally, like this to get in the car. I'll have the phone on a really fancy little 90s style belt clip, like the good old days. And I'll flip it open when I get a new iMessage or call.
Go for Harry's.
Oh, hi, gorgeous. How you doing?
Is that Josie? Fractic?
No, it's Jan Beta. Yeah, I'm just having lunch. Can I call you back? All right, bye, Nick.
But it was then that I discovered something unexpected and truly life-changing for me. I realized that this flip phone can act as a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that the Apple Watch, or if you prefer, the Samsung Galaxy Watch or Android Wear watches, can access the cloud via the flip phone. You see, unlike the old days when a watch would get all its notifications via Bluetooth directly from the phone's notification tray, modern watches like the Apple Watch instead connect directly to iCloud, using the phone only as a connection to the cloud. And more importantly, the app notifications themselves actually happen in the cloud as well, not just on the phone. What I quickly realized was, if I left my iPhone at home, but my watch was connected to the flip phone's Wi-Fi, the Apple Watch would automatically connect to Apple iCloud via an Android flip phone. And just to be clear, I don't have a cellular connection on my Apple Watch, only Wi-Fi. And so suddenly I found I had the best of both worlds here. I turned on notifications only for essential apps on the watch that I wanted, home security system, Tesla, and text messages, for example. And then I found that those apps would still alert me, even if the iPhone was miles away. It meant fun things like quick replies to texts became an option just from my wrist, which means even less distractions than even opening the flip phone up. And that I could say things like this to KITTesla, all again via the flip phone and iCloud. Hey kid, super pursuit mode. Love it. Now, if you have a Samsung Galaxy Watch, you can access text in this way on your watch via the flip phone using Samsung's remote connection. And for all other modern Android watches, it's called Cloud Sync. It's all basically the same sort of thing as iCloud. Just make sure your phone is left on when you leave it behind, and it should all sync via the flip phone's hotspot to your watch. If you have an iPhone, however, you don't even need to leave it switched on. In fact, maybe I should just sell the iPhone. And I think I might also invest in a little portable DSLR camera like the Sony Cybershot HX99. That's a really great compact option. I'll just wear it around my neck like my parents used to do when they took photos of me like this. And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? The past. It's ironic that by looking back in the past, not just to old photos, but to old phones, it's allowed me to step forward into my future and into our child's future as well. Well, I hope this retro recipe has helped you maybe see some pathways that you can take to join that digital minimalism revolution. If you're already on that road, though, let me know what retro gear you decided on, and what you went back to and what you abandoned. I'd love to know. Maybe it'll give me some ideas as well. As for me, it's time for me to put this smartphone down, stop filming myself on a hill, and just say thanks so much for watching. As always, subscribe and support below. Thanks for walking the dog with me, and cheerio.
One man can make a difference, Perry. Or one woman. Or dog. The Fractics, lone curators in a vintage world. The world of retro recipes.
No, you're crazy. You're crazy.